Hey everyone, my name is Mark with Kytheramoto. We do topics for the adventure motorcycle rider. And today our topic is going to be hydration. The key to underlying factor, the key underlying factor to outdoor adventure success. And it's absolutely true. I mean, you can't survive very long without water. You can survive long without food, but not without water. So I'm going to try to explain why hydration should be a priority for you guys and why it's important. So, what does it mean to be hydrated? Okay, you're completely hydrated, you're 100%. Having said that, there was a study done a few years ago that the average person walks around, probably especially in the Northwest because we love our coffee, um, 6 to 8% dehydrated, right? So, we're not always fully hydrated. And that could be for a variety of reasons. But what does it mean to be hydrated, right? So technically, I guess we're going to go right down this list. Human plumbing system is optimally filled because you have a plumbing system, arteries and veins and capillaries and all sorts of things that needs to be filled with fluid and electrolytes, right? That's what, shuffles the blood cells around the body, perfuses the tissues and organs that we have that keep us alive, right? I mean, it makes sense. The unique part about our biologic plumbing system is those blood vessels can dilate or get bigger, and they can constrict and get smaller, all in the attempt to maintain homeostasis, essentially, or just a balance of temperature, fluid, all sorts of things. So the body's actually really super amazing when it comes to that stuff. So you have, if you're hydrated, a balance of water and electrolytes is achieved, right? You get that from your food, from fluids, not necessarily fluids that have, like energy drinks and coffee and things like that, but fluids like fruit juices and milk and water and things like that. Not quite sure if beer is on that menu or not, but anyway. The body can manage temperature swings, hot and cold, right? That's supposed to be an and. Hot and cold, maintaining internal temperature within normal ranges, right? So the body can adapt to things. It can acclimatize to, high elevations, really super cold temperatures, and really hot temperatures as well. If you want to read a really good story, just read about Sir Ernest Shackleton. Read that book, The South, and there's also a movie called The Endurance, and things on how they dealt with the cold, right? But we deal with cold temperatures because we're on motorcycles, right? And maybe early in the morning, fingertips get um, really sore because they're getting real cold. You may or may not have heated grips or heated seats. Um, so what I basically use in that regard is those little hand warmers, which work really good and they stay warm for a long time. So anyway, that works out really good. So when you're hydrated, waste products are efficiently excreted. Okay, sugar, CO2, different byproducts through the kidneys, and you're able to maintain a good urine output, which flushes out your waste products there. So that's super important too, and you're not just recirculating it and it's balling up in your body. So food can be ingested and processed for energy in an efficient manner. If you're hydrated, that's very important because if you're not, it takes water to process your food intake, and so again, it almost every time you eat, you should have a glass of water, right? So that helps in that regard, and it keeps your energy up. Assures the person has the mental and physical faculties to perform needed tasks like riding a motorcycle, right? So obviously you need to have mental acuity. You need to be awake and raring to go, and you're riding your motorcycle and you're recognizing hazards and you're having a blast and you're, avoiding hazards and you're coming up with plans and tracks and all that sort of stuff, right? So we need to have our mental faculties with us, and then the physical ability to coordinate our extremities, right? That's the thing about motorcycles, as you guys already know. I'm preaching to the choir. Is you have, right hand, left hand, clutch, brakes, throttle, shifting, gear lever, and rear brake. All these different things in a concert in order to ride your motorcycle off road. So being hydrated really gives you that great opportunity to do that with ease. So I don't know what that was doing there, but anyway, so what are the hydration challenges? So if you have low levels of water and electrolyte intake in response to local environment, right? So if you're in the desert, traveling in the high desert, and it's in the heat of the day, it's in July, and you've got the sun is out, and it's 90 to 100 degrees, and you're dealing with a lot of solar radiation, like we've talked about in previous videos. Your levels of intake, right, when it comes to water and electrolytes, maybe liquid IV, that type of stuff mixed in with your water, needs to be increased, right? So because you're releasing so much fluid out of your skin, which is 95 degrees, so much fluid trying to maintain that lower internal body temperature at 98.6, right? So your body's really working hard and able to really adapt to almost anything, but it takes more water in those environments. Having said that, if you're mountaineering and in cold weather, anything under 20 degrees, 10 degrees, 0 degrees, things like that, and you're walking uphill with a heavy pack, okay, you're producing so much heat internally because you're walking uphill and you're working very, very hard. And your body's going to try to maintain that normal internal body temperature. So you are going to be sweating if you have a lot of layers on. It's not uncommon to do an approach on a mountain in a t-shirt, and it could be 10 degrees out, because what your goal is in mountaineering anyway is to stay dry. Because if you don't stay dry and you allow yourself to sweat and absorb sweat into your clothing, and you stop to take a break without covering up, you could get chilled out really quick. You can lose body heat almost like that, right? And that's where you get chilled out. That's where you get hypothermic. So it works in both environments. Temperature and humidity. If the temperature is high and the humidity is high and you're doing a lot of physical activity, all right, your potential to get hyperthermic is a lot quicker, because your body, in balance with the environment it's in, can't shed enough evaporative heat off of your body, and then it could store that heat inside, and that's when your internal body temperature could go up. So be mindful of what the temperature is and the humidity, especially in equatorial countries and things like that, if you're riding your motorcycle down in there. So be mindful of temperature and humidity. Poor dietary, such as high levels of sugar-based food, resulting in an osmotic effect, drawing fluid out of the body's plumbing system, and in an effort to excrete sugar byproducts. Okay, there's videos out there where guys are pounding down these big milkshakes and things like that, and then going out into a very hot environment. So just be mindful again, where if you take in a lot of sugar, alcohol turns into sugar, is very high sugar based, things like that, and you go into a hot environment or even a cold environment, all right, you'll be challenged in that hydration part of it, and you could become hypothermic or hyperthermic and dehydrated at the same time, with your body trying to maintain that internal temperature and internal enough fluid in your plumbing system in order to keep your perfusion levels up. So be mindful of what you eat and drink. Here's an example of that. Have you ever drank a little bit of whiskey at night, and it's a cool evening, and you get in your sleeping bag and you wake up maybe an hour or two later and you're all chilled? So that's the alcohol can dilate those blood vessels, and then you can lose body heat with alcohol. So be mindful of that. Not enough water availability, right? You're not carrying enough water. How much water do you need to carry? Okay, if your section on a BDR or your trip is taking you away from water sources, right? How much water? Well, I gave this story in a previous video, but in 1964, the U.S. Army did a drill in Southern California deserts with some soldiers, and they had the soldiers drink 8 quarts of water a day. Not one of them got any type of hypothermic or heat injuries. All right, and they remained hydrated. Obviously, that's a lot of water, right? But you can buy the water bladders, 2 gallons. Really evaluate your planning on. You're going to do the old first section of the BDR in Oregon, right? You're going to start at the Nevada border, and you're going to go through in July, and you know that it's going to be hot. The sun is going to have a lot of solar radiation. You're traveling 150 miles before you reach the next store or whatever. And so anyway, that's just using that as an example. It can be anywhere. And you're going to be out for a full day. You might want to fill up and carry that 2 gallons of water. Be mindful of that, and then drink it and drink it and drink it, because you don't drink when you're thirsty. You drink how much water you need in order to stay hydrated per the environment that you're traveling in. Doesn't matter it does not matter. Okay, if you're thirsty or whether you feel like drinking or not. You just maintain that fluid intake in regard to where you're traveling. So poor planning and weather predictions, like I just mentioned, knowing what the weather's going to be like, what the temperature is going to be like, knowing what the humidity is going to be like, and a lack of water filter to make potable water. There are water sources. I did a video on water. Please watch that one, because there is water in the desert. There's water obviously in the mountains. There's waters, creeks and streams and things. There's water available almost everywhere if you just know how to find it. And even a cow trough, like I had mentioned, you can sweep off the surface scum, if you will, and filter some of that water, and you can have potable water and stay hydrated. So very important. Dehydration effects, right? We've already talked about a lot of them, but we're going to go over them again because it's that important. Hypothermia or heat-related illness. I have a whole video on hyperthermia posted in Kytheramoto channel. Hypothermia, a dehydrated body in cold weather will shunt water from the extremities to the core in order to maintain internal body temperature. This may result in cold injuries to fingers and toes. Lack of circulation, that's when you get frostbite and various things like that. Can it happen on a motorcycle? I don't know. It depends on what you're riding through, right? I mean, it depends. But regardless, giving yourself the best chance of not getting hypothermic or injuries to your fingers and toes, frostbite. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. You're getting the general theme, right? Stay hydrated. General fatigue, decreased energy levels, strain on body and the body's ability to maintain normal internal temperature, and hot and cold. Doesn't matter where. The body's an amazing organism, right? So it can adapt to a lot of different things, but you got to stay hydrated in order for it to do that. Decrease sweat to assist in the evaporative process to reduce body temperature, and that's obviously in hot weather too, right? So you may not feel like you're sweating a lot because as soon as that fluid hits your skin, it could be evaporating instantly, maintaining that internal body temperature. So if you're overclothed, okay, remember, if you're overclothed, is super important for you to maintain your ventilation. So let's say this. So in hypothermia, and I'm going to do a video just on hypothermia, but what are the 3 things that can keep you from getting hypothermic? What do you think? Okay, well, the first is, you guessed it, water intake. Second is food intake. You got to feed the furnace, right? Just like the old trains shoveling in the coal, same thing. It will allow your body to produce heat, right? It's a furnace. It will just, it's a pretty amazing. And clothing. So water, food, and clothing will keep you from getting hypothermic and maintaining normal body temperature. So from the mountains, right, to the desert, keep yourself hydrated. Okay? Adventure motorcyclists, keep yourself hydrated. Thank you very much from Kytheramoto. Really, really appreciate it. Got a lot more videos coming and kind of figuring out the format. Please leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up. If you can, give some comments. Let me know how to get better. I'm just starting this thing, so a lot of it I suck, but I'm getting better. So anyways, good seeing you. Take care. Happy riding.